Firstly, I don't do unboxings, any promotional work or endorsements. Suppliers that I've chosen for this video are purely down to price point and the convenience rather than any affiliations. The information is purely included to give a guide to what is available and what I have used. I do, however, recommend having a go and the use of proper protective equipment associated with welding. How hard can it be? A question asked by many, however, on this occasion I am remembering a specific instance when over 20 years ago my brother, at the time a student and certainly a fellow car enthusiast, decided to purchase an SIP handy-made gasless MIG welder from our local Partco. It has proven over the years that practice never needs to make perfect as long as it leads to a sufficient outcome. Or in this case, many thousands of bud crap welds that may look bad but are more than sufficient to meet the requirements of not only gravity but an MOT tester. I would later learn to produce sufficient welds with this welder, and on my very own Clark MIG 106 gas welder that I have extensively used to get my Volvo back on the blacktop. So as with this question, how hard can it be? I decided to purchase my very own SIP welder and endeavour to learn to TIG weld. An inverter arc TIG welder can be gotten relatively cheaply these days, on top of which you would need to add a TIG torch fitted with a valve, a gas regulator, a bottle of argon gas, some tungsten electrodes, some filler rod and preferably some skill. The welder I chose was an SIP T120 with a working range of 20 to 120 amps, and it's supplied with a ground lead and an arc electrode holder. I decided to purchase an SIP mini gas regulator as I've already used a Clark regulator on my Clark welder, and even the chaps at Machine Mart admit they can be a bit sketchy. The TIG torch was pretty much the cheapest torch I could find that wasn't from 5,000 miles away. It's a generic item from Parker brand, and I also purchased an adapter which I thought would fit to convert the normal 3/8 BSP that's on a TIG torch to the 1/8 BSP fitting that's fitted to a mini gas regulator. However, as it happened, the thread on the TIG torch was some completely strange thread, so I had to cannibalise the adapter to make everything work. The torch, as it was supplied, came with a zipped bag, 3 gas shrouds, numbers 4, 5 and 6, 3 collets, 1.6, 2 and 2.4mm, and it's all terminated to a small 1025 dinse plug. There certainly is a learning curve with this. Lots more variables. With the material used, it could have been contaminated. The tungsten electrodes may have been contaminated from a bench grinder. Certainly the angle may not be correct for the particular work that I'm doing. The current used might have been too high, might have been too low. The gas flow could have been compromised. Certainly I'm not too sure if the flow rate was too high or too low. I'd suggest there's a lot more plate spinning involved compared to MIG welding, if anyone's MIG welded out there. My opinion of the equipment that I chose is fairly high. Everything worked as it should. I'm by no means a welder. In theory, if it was used by someone who was more competent, the results would be more to write home about. Perhaps with more practice, if I'm able to produce work worthy of a future post, then I'd certainly put one out there. The torch, I would say, was great value for the price. A 17 size torch is probably the most common and easiest to get consumables for. As for how hard can it be, initially not any harder than arc welding, because you need to strike an arc. However, you need to also control the gas flow. You need to match the amps to the material, whereas with arc welding you pretty much just select the right size stick, crank it up and go for it. There's a lot more concentration required to build up a weld pool. You also need to feed in filler rod at the correct feed rate. After a morning tinkering, I've certainly vaporised some 2mm aluminium sheet, half an electrode, about 400ml filler rod. I emptied a complete 110 litre bottle of argon. Clearly with a lot more practice, welding of aluminium could be achieved. The first initial arc was at 80 amps, the flow rate was 8 litres a minute. I was out in my garden. With practice and possibly better conditions, maybe the flow rate can be tweaked to get better results. There was certainly a lot of heat there. There was enough heat to start a pool. I couldn't necessarily control it. Practice would help. Perhaps maybe next time work on mild steel, which is a material most people are familiar with. That might be a little bit easier. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.